Fogo Island off Cape Verde is dominated by the turbulent volcano Pico. It's magic. For over 2 centuries, a die-hard community has lived alongside this fiery monster.
Most people here say that they won't leave because a part of them belongs here. I can't leave.
The last eruption of the Big Man, as it's known here, was devastating. This house was completely filled with lava.
Over 300 houses were engulfed in lava.
But the village still resists, and its inhabitants have learned to cope with the rage of the volcano. This is the very first time that I fed chickens inside a volcanic crater. At once a threat and an ally, Pico de Fogo has shaped the character of these men and women who are determined to stay on their ancestral land, regardless of the dangers.
There's God, then below God is the volcano. It's thanks to it that I exist.
I'm in the heart of the enormous Fogo caldera. 73,000 years ago, huge volcanoes stood here, reaching a height of over 3,500 meters. It collapsed dramatically into the sea, leaving a gigantic depression in the landscape nearly 10 kilometers across. Volcanic activity has carried on undiminished ever since, and a second volcano appeared in the middle of the caldera. Today, Pico is one of the youngest and most active of the Earth's volcanoes, and each generation has been victim, at least once, of its fury. It last erupted in 2014. This eruption was a turning point in the island's history. The magma did not erupt from the crater, but found its way through the fault lines at the base of the volcano. Pico spewed out torrents of molten lava for over 10 weeks. In the front row of this infernal spectacle, the community which lives in the caldera watched on impotently as their village was destroyed. The lava has cooled down since, and the painstaking task of reconstruction has begun. Little by little, the families have returned to the land where they grew up. Today, 400 of the 700 inhabitants have resettled there. But the memory of the eruption still haunts them. Alcindo will never forget that the village of his ancestors, swept away by the volcano, lies beneath his feet. Alcindo, it's quite strange to have a village built on the 2014 lava flow.
All the dwellings you see here have been rebuilt over the old ones. This is because the eruption of 2014 destroyed everything in its wake. We could well be walking over the roof of an old house at this very moment.
So all the old houses are underneath?
Yes, 3 to 4 meters, maybe 5, even 10 meters deep, depending on where we are. In this zone, there were only houses, and more than 300 of them were engulfed by the lava. Everything was buried. There was a school, a health center, a village hall, hotels, bars, restaurants, and a church. The lava destroyed everything.
Right next to the volcano.
At the start, the lava only flowed around the volcano, but gradually it spread everywhere, including here, destroying the surrounding areas right down to Mongueiro, which is a bit further down. We initially thought that the eruption would only last about 10 days, maybe 20, but it lasted over 10 weeks. It was a very violent eruption. Come on, let me show you what happened in 2014's eruption.
Is that lava?
Yes, that's the lava from 2014.
Wow.
Lava came right up to here.
Yes, it is. The lava flow engulfed this zone, as well as the hotel and its swimming pool.
It's unbelievable. It looks like a pool that's overflowing. It's magnificent. There are layers and layers of folds.
It's called ropey lava. It even looks like toffee, the sort of toffee that you pour into a cake tin. Then the lava carried on right down here. The lava came all the way up to here. This whole zone was engulfed. The people who lived here broke up the lava so that they could live here again. Like here, for example.
This house was completely filled with lava.
They couldn't get rid of it. But there is a small spot under the ceiling where they managed to remove a little bit.
The lava must have flowed rapidly, because normally it pushes against houses and collapses them.
Yes, but as soon as it comes up against something solid, ropey lava flows around it. When it comes into contact with something, the lava solidifies and then either goes round the building or it accumulates and engulfs it. In this zone, it carried away everything in its path, just like a river. Here it filled up the space, then carried on round it and continued its journey.
Alcindo and I retraced the path of the cooled lava flow right up to where the emission started, to where the eruption began. I'm trying to imagine what it was like. Here, there were fountains of lava which then flowed in great huge rivers, completely engulfing the valley.
There were different types of activity. Huge amounts of ash and volcanic bombs were ejected from the top. And here, there was all the lava and lava flows, which flooded all the zones below the crater.
And we can still see the cracks. It's impressive. It really helps in understanding how volcanoes work. So fault lines are formed, and when the magma rises, it enters the fault lines, and we get these long lines inside the crater.
Yes, if you look carefully, there are more than 30 lateral craters that have appeared around Pico.
When magma rises to the surface, volcanoes expand, causing the formation of fault lines and cracks into which the magma flows more easily. This process induces lateral eruptions, which are particularly dangerous for those living nearby, because the lava is not emitted from the volcano's summit, but from the flanks, in close proximity to residential zones. This is precisely what happened in November 2014. We can still see the sulfur. Does that mean it's still extremely hot underneath?
Very hot. Let me show you.
Holy cow, that is really hot. What's the temperature in there?
About 80 degrees.
That's really extraordinary. It feels like we're standing next to a radiator.
Yes, I'm always amazed by it.
Stone by stone, the community rebuilt the village with their own hands. From old to young, everyone took part in this extraordinary demonstration of solidarity. Because those who have made the volcano their home have inextricably linked their fate to it. It's one big family who pulled together, deriving their common roots deep in the black rock, as if descended from the volcano. Seems like you know everyone here.
That's Theo. Theo Montron. He's my cousin, my friend, my brother, my clone.
When you say hello, you always do that, and then, what's that?
The heart.
You're like one big family here, aren't you?
Of course. We're all cousins. Some by marriage, some second cousins, some first removed. Because in the past, families mixed together a great deal. And that's why nearly everyone here is part of my family.
Alcindo shares a common ancestor with all the inhabitants, an illustrious explorer who was the first person to settle on Fogo's volcanic islands.
He was a Frenchman who set foot in Cape Verde, here in Fogo, in the 19th century. Apparently, he was a ladies' man, and he had a great many children on the island. That's why such a high percentage of the population of Fogo are called Montrons.
So here in the caldera, you're all descendants of Montron?
Yes, you're right, almost everyone. I belong to the 5th generation of Montrons. I just don't have blue eyes or blonde hair, but I'm still one of them.
All your houses are engulfed beneath this lava. These are your roots. You couldn't leave anyway.
Absolutely right. Most people say I can't leave here because this is my nabiko, which means umbilical cord. Since my umbilical cord is buried here, a part of me is buried here too, and I couldn't leave.
The latest descendants of this dynasty molded by lava, the children, are the custodians of this fragile way of life. They lead me down a track carved into the cooled lava. Here in Fogo, the route to school is unlike any other. At the end of the track, the small school was one of the few buildings left unscathed by the 2014 eruption. Originally from another island in the archipelago, Kathleen volunteered to teach the children in Pico. Was it important to recreate a school immediately after the eruption?
Yes, it was important to rebuild the school quickly, so that the children didn't stay in the caldera without any education. A lot of the pupils had given up school.
No school would have meant the end of the village.
Education is fundamental, and without it, you can't go very far.
You came to work here, and yet you're from outside the caldera. How did that work out? Coming here must have been a bit strange.
It was different and a bit complicated, because I was more of a city dweller.
But here, all around, there's the lava flow from 2014. Didn't all of this volcanic phenomena scare you a bit at the beginning?
No, because I witnessed the 2014 eruption. It was something that was, I don't know how to put it, both magnificent and terrifying. Beautiful, but also quite frightening. It really was an eye-opening experience, because I saw how powerful nature could be.
Well, I think you've been really brave.
I don't think I'm brave. I would describe myself more as an explorer. I love adventures.
It's like a wonderland for the children. They can go wherever they like.
Yes, they're completely free. There's no real danger, and they can play freely. They go where they please. They can climb the mountains, and the sky's the limit for them within the caldera. But that also has an effect on what they learn. It's more practical-based than theory-based. They need lots of activities to be doing things all the time.
And living in these surroundings, how do you teach children about volcanoes?
We prepare the lessons based on their everyday life. We teach them to live with the presence of this volcano.
Is it like another planet?
Exactly. Just like another planet. To such an extent that when we talk about different countries in class, they say that Chá das Caldeiras is a separate country and that the neighboring towns are also different countries.
In the Fogo caldera, while humans are building their homes, the volcano has also constructed some astonishing architectural forms. Here, gases trapped in the lava flow escaped abruptly, causing fragments of lava to ooze out, which gradually clustered together to form these amazing structures called hornitos. João is an animal breeder, and he saw a novel way of exploiting these basalt structures.
The door's here.
Wow!
Oh yeah, this is a real door. That's amazing. There's even a key.
Wow!
Look at this. Chicken, turkeys, ducks. Some of them are hungry. This is the first time I fed chickens inside a volcanic crater. What gave you the idea of using this hornito as a poultry yard and putting your animals here?
I really love animals, but I didn't have an enclosure to raise them in. So I climbed up there. I came down on a ladder, and then I made a door in those gaps there. Then I could put the animals inside.
Usually hornitos are not very solid, but this one is perfect.
It's very solid and really protects the animals. What's more, the surface is flat, which is better for protecting the poultry from the elements. They're better here. They're out of the way. There's less waste. They're less disrupted. They're much calmer here.
At first light, I set out with Alcindo on a ritual walk that each child in the caldera has to take part in at least once in their lives. A climb to the top of Pico. You've been climbing up here since you were 6? When I grew up at 6 years old, I was just allowed to play football in the garden. But you climbed a volcano.
It's true that when I look at my nephews and other children today, I do find it strange. Because at the age of 6, I still see them as babies.
The volcanic slag is much more compact here. It's still incredible to think how volcanoes are formed. Small stones and big rocks are ejected from the earth, making up an enormous pile, which we call a volcano. It really is beautiful. How much longer?
About 30 minutes to the top. It's funny that you ask how much longer. Sometimes tourists ask me the same question, and I tell them, we're nearly there, without telling them exactly how much time it will take. And the tourists reply, you said nearly there ages ago. Here we are.
It's magical. What an unbelievable range of colors. It's really striking. You can see all the different layers of this stratovolcano, one on top of the other. It's fantastic. Do you remember the first time you came up here?
Of course. It was unforgettable. It's something that I'll remember forever. It's like it was yesterday. A moment to treasure.
What was it? Curiosity? Fear? Was it transgressive?
When I climbed up here for the first time, it was because we could see smoke coming out. When we were children, our grandparents used to tell us the story of Noshoti, a man who was always putting bread in the oven. And since bread was quite rare for us, we dreamed of eating warm bread. When my father said we would be climbing up here, I was so excited I couldn't sleep the night before. I couldn't wait to climb the volcano to eat Noshoti's warm bread. I wanted to meet him. Then, as we climbed up, we went past the fumaroles. And once we got to the top, we saw the smoke coming out of the ground, but there was no one there who'd lit the fire. I would never have imagined that the volcano was like that, so alive. For me, it was just a mountain. But when I got to the top, I saw that I was wrong, that there was life inside it.
So when you get here at the top of Pico, is it like visiting a friend, or a family member, or a spirit, or a god? What's your relationship with the volcano?
As I often say, I see myself as part of the rocks of the volcano. And when I climb up here, it's always with a great amount of pleasure. I feel protected in the palm of the volcano's hand. There's God, then below God is the volcano. It's thanks to it that I exist, that I'm a living person. It's difficult to describe, difficult to explain.
Well, it's very intense.
Absolutely. It's a very strong feeling.
I'm very grateful that you brought me here. It's a beautiful gift.
You don't need to thank me. It's my pleasure. I enjoyed coming up here today just like I did the first time. Every time I come, it seems like everything is the same, but I also find different things. We're so fortunate that everything is so calm, everything is normal, and it's been a great pleasure bringing you up here.
Thanks.
Merci.
It's rare that the destiny of a community is so linked to that of a volcano. In this immense caldera, men and women seem to have been carved out of the same substance as the volcanic rock. Day after day, they feed off the volcano's energy to reconstruct their lives. Lava flows in their veins, and in their hearts beats the powerful fire of Pico de Fogo.